Happy New Year! Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I almost forgot. Thank you for the reminders, channel members like Nicholas. But yeah, I guess this is become quite a tradition around here. So I might as well keep it going. And just to be clear, from the beginning of this stream, I have not pre-watched. I have not pre-screened this video. So I will be reacting to, it's over a year old actually. I'm a little bit late on this because I was traveling and everything. Um, to celebrate, I brought out the custom Apple mug, which can only, I actually purchased this at Apple's own headquarters. And I don't know if they still sell them. I know they don't have that old campus anymore. Happy New Year, Liam 2.0 Pipeline Podcast. Hello. Welcome back. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. But we'll be rewatching this. I typically don't watch my videos anyway. So this is basically my first time watching this video. And let me check the upload date. This was uploaded, oh, long time ago, December 23rd, 2023. Holy crap. Okay. So 2 calendar years ago. And why don't I switch over here? We can see my horribly ugly face. And I'll have glasses Drew in the corner. Or should we do it like this? Oh, wait. I can flip that. Hold up. Hold up. Boom. There we go. So now you get reaction alongside the video itself. But it's 15 minutes. I don't recall making that many predictions. But these can be kind of fun because you find out a lot about like what the accuracy of leaks and rumors are. Hello, Alpha. Oh, someone from the Philippines was it? MJ Artwork. Wow, that's cool. All the way from the Philippines. Robert Landrum. Why don't I move the chat over here? That would make more sense. There we go. That way I can keep the reaction over here, but I can still read your messages. Hello from Clarksville, Indiana. Thanks for tuning in, Robert. I know it's been a while since we've done a public stream, but I've been gone anyway, so would have been very difficult to stream. I ran out of data at the last place I was filming from, so that made it difficult to not only live stream but also upload. But yeah, this will be a good chance to figure out, do all of the leaks and rumors actually matter? Does it really make a difference for us to cover all the leaks? Or do they all end up being wrong? Obviously, I think the short-term leaks are a lot easier to get right because there's more and more people that know about the announcements before they happen. So yeah, I guess we should just kick this off. We've got 15 minutes to go through, and keep in mind, reaction videos, there's always you got to pause to make a point, or you got to pause to talk about something. So people always make this comment over the years where they're like, Drew took an hour to react to a 15-minute video. It's like, well, it's not going to take less time, obviously. Obviously, it takes more time because you're commentating on it. It would be boring if I just sat here and didn't say anything and just watched the video. That's not the point of doing a reaction stream or video. You know what? Alpha says, I got so much wrong from last year. Oh, okay. Maybe I did too. Liam likes this format. That's good. That's good. We'll keep this up maybe for next. Maybe after this stream, I can do a Apple Predictions 2025. Good evening, Drew. He says, literally just got dinner done, so this is perfect. Bacon and hash browns. Ooh, that sounds amazing. I love breakfast for dinner. Dang it, now you're making me hungry. Okay, I guess we could watch it at 2x speed, but that's okay. We'll just leave the stream up for people who want to watch it after it's live, and they can watch it at 2x speed. But comment down below for everybody that it takes 5 minutes into the stream for the reaction to actually begin. And here we go. Let me get this ready here. I think we can full screen. Yeah. Let's give it a play. Again, just to be clear, I have not pre-screened this. I've basically never watched this video. I edited it, but I tend to not watch my videos after I edited them. And again, I edited this December 23rd, 2023. So it's been a while. Let's see what we got right and what we got wrong.
An amazing year.
Oh, wait.
Wow. 2024 is going to be an amazing year for Apple.
Are you gonna switch the regular iPhones to ProMotion or not?
In of spatial
They won't.
computing. You can have iPad apps as big as the walls of your home.
Can you just answer the freaking question, Tim? iPhone 16, is it getting promotion?
Oh, of course not. But the amazing and
Well, that
incredible
part's right.
Apple Vision Pro can go up to 100 hertz, maybe more.
Tim, that's $3,500. You can't even get it to 120 hertz.
Who's to say? Who really needs to go that high? I mean, it dynamically changes based on what you're doing.
Aren't you looking through it at all times? Therefore, it should be the most lifelike with the highest refresh rate.
Wow. If that's going to be your attitude, then I'm not talking to you anymore, okay? You will never be on my nice list. Good morning.
Ah, I knew it. Let's begin. I forgot I had this intro. Apple should be hitting the ground running with the launch of Apple Vision Pro within the first quarter. And I think the general consensus from the tech YouTubers and the media is going to be this is the most incredible augmented reality headset ever. Nothing comes close to it. The resolution, the refresh rate, the ease of setting it up, the software, it's just so smart. It's so intuitive. No one can touch it. And then at the same time, everyone's also going to say, but you probably shouldn't buy it. It's not worth $3,500. It's just really cool and impressive technology. And you should go check one out in an Apple store, but no, it's definitely not worth the money. Everybody. Dang, this was like 2.5 months before it came out, and that I feel like, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think that was a pretty accurate assessment of Apple Vision Pro. A lot of people were like, impressive tech, but definitely not worth buying. You should go check one out at the Apple store. I feel like that's what my review ended up being, which was months after I recorded this. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Everybody's witnessed Apple products launch in the past, and they know that the first generation is usually not very good, and it finds its stride along the way. So people are going to be inspired and interested in the idea of spatial computing, but I doubt very many people are actually going to buy the first generation headset. And at the spring event, it will likely launch alongside some larger size iPads, maybe some new colors for iPhones. A hot topic that we didn't get to talk about in our didn't get any new iPhone colors. I was really hoping for that. I really thought we'd get product red on the iPhone 15, but now we've gone how many years without a product red iPhone? Apple must not want to support that organization, that charity anymore. Um, so colors were wrong, but did we get iPads at a spring event? It was kind of late spring, wasn't it? It was a bit later than March, but we did eventually get larger iPads. Anywho, last video is the iPhone SE4. Unfortunately, most of the recent reports are claiming that that's not going to be ready until 2025, which is just way too long for me, especially if we're supposed to be all USB-C on everything for the European Union by the I agree. That should have been out by now. It's still a rumor. It's probably the next iPhone to launch. The rumors are getting pretty consistently saying that that's going to be ready this spring. So we've got to wait maybe 2 months. But it's funny that we knew about it this far in advance, that the leaks were all saying, yep, spring 2025. Here we are. End of 2024. Come on, Apple. We shouldn't have to wait that long. Fingers crossed that Apple has a wild card plan and they're going to drop the SE sooner than we all think. But at least according to the rumors, it's not looking too good for a new iPhone SE in 2024. Even though we got a new SE back in 2022 and the one before that was 2020, if we want to keep things consistent, Apple, it should be 2 years apart. But whatever. I guess we'll all just have to put up with that home button. And that is random. I did not think about that. So the first SE came out in 2016. 4 years go by, we get the SE2 in 2020. 2 years go by, we get the SE3, which basically was the same, just had 5G. But then there's 3 years between the SE3 and the SE4. There's no consistency with the iPhone SE. It's very random. It's like, how many years are there between refreshes? Sometimes 4, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. Apple likes to be unpredictable sometimes, I guess. Lightning. I didn't think about that. Now moving on to later parts of the year, like at Dub, we should, of course, get a huge suite of new upgrades between iOS 18, watchOS 11, macOS Weed, whatever they end up calling it, and this new experimental operating system that Apple's been working on that's very limited in its capability, but hopefully with time they could install a little bit more functionality into it. It's called iPadOS, but I'm guessing the star of the show at Dub next year is probably going to be Vision OS. I just spat all over my keyboard. That's not good. Oh my god. This is I paid so much money for this laptop. I should not be spitting all over it. I, I don't. I forgot that joke. I'm sorry. I literally thought I was going to talk about Vision OS. I thought I was talking about spatial computing. I forgot that the iPad was the butt of the joke. Hold on, let me hear that again.
With time they could install
Let's
they end
start
up
that over.
calling it, and this new like experimental operating system that Apple's been working on that's very limited in its capability, but hopefully with time they could install a little bit more functionality into it. It's called iPadOS. I'm guessing the star of the show at Dub next year is probably going to be Vision OS 2.0, because they're going to see all of the flaws and limitations in the first generation of Vision OS. And simultaneously, within the first half of next year, we should officially get RCS support on Apple's iOS. I never thought
That did happen, although it took some carriers like my own, Mint Mobile. Come on, get your act together. Mint Mobile still does not support RCS unless they announced it recently and I missed it, but they took way too long to support it, even if they are supporting it now, because iOS 18 been around for a while. I don't think I made that many predictions about Apple Intelligence, but I really expected Vision OS 2.0 to be a bigger deal, and it wasn't. I think the biggest feature was that you could do widescreen Mac OS external monitor support, and that was about it. So not the star of the show. If there was a star of the show for Dub, what was it? Probably iOS 18. Um, yeah, Mac OS was okay, but yeah, RCS getting supported was a nice, welcoming, what do you call it? Apple cave in, when Apple doesn't want to do something for a long time, and then they're finally just like, okay, we'll do it. $1 Snake says, "Am I the only one who thinks the M4 iPad Pro getting thinner was stupid? Imagine if they kept 5.9 millimeters instead and improved thermals even more along with battery." I know, I agree. Like, no one was really complaining about the thickness, but the battery life of every iPad since 2010 has been the same. I mean, sure, in side by side tests, they are probably a little different, but at least on Apple's website, every iPad has a 10-hour battery life or worse. If you get cellular, maybe it's 9 hours, but for the most part, all of them are 10. And it's like, okay, this is an OLED display with cellular. This is the kind of product that you're supposed to carry around with you throughout the day, and you never think you need more than 10 hours? Could Cook be cooking an M4 12.5-inch MacBook? I hope. Let's hope so. That 12-inch MacBook was ahead of its time. It was so capable. It just was stuck with the crappy Intel chips. It would be great now.
that was going to happen, especially after Tim Cook was going off telling people to buy their mom's iPhones and all that. But no, it's announced and it's definitely happening, and it will probably be one of the final nails in the coffin for Beeper. But yeah, finally texting
Mm.
Android users with your iPhone should be.
What happened to Beeper? I haven't kept up with them. I forgot all about that. I'm kind of curious now. Um, was is it would that still be on the App Store? I know that they fought with them. Universal Messenger, it's still there. Not as highly reviewed as it used to be. A single app to chat on WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook Messenger, and 10 other networks. I don't think it includes iMessage. Interesting. Does anyone still use Beeper? Do you think Apple will come up with an updated smart battery case? I hope not, because battery cases are dumb. I'm sorry. Battery modules are where it's at, because a module will work on any iPhone. And as soon as Androids start freaking getting their acts together and support Qi 2, then you could have a battery pack that works between iOS and Android. But as soon as you get a battery case, it only works with that phone. You can't transfer it to a different phone. They change the camera bumps every freaking year. I also forgot Beeper. Yeah, Beeper was a big thing. I never tried the Clicks keyboard. I thought we learned our lesson from BlackBerry. Anyway, let's keep going.
a lot easier. Still getting typing indicators, read receipts, delivered receipts, and higher quality media. Not going to have as many features as iMessage has for sure, but a lot of the most basic texting fundamentals should finally be fixed if you're texting an Android user for some reason. And also, I'm anticipating by halfway through 2024, Apple will have the first generation OLED iPad Pros ready. So that's
That's
going to
right.
be a pretty substantial resolution bump for the iPad for the
Okay.
first time in years. We might
I thought that because they were switching to OLED, that would boost the resolution because that's what happened to the iPhone. If you remember when the iPhone 10 came out, it's not really a genuine bump, but at least on paper, it's a tech spec bump because the pixels are arranged differently. Like on an LCD, the pixels are arranged like in a grid pattern, whereas in an OLED, it's more of a diamond pattern. So that kind of makes this artificially high resolution figure. And I thought that was going to happen with the iPad, and it didn't. It was pretty much, I think they made them slightly bigger, but it wasn't a substantial resolution bump. What did I say? Did I say a big resolution bump?
So that's going to be a pretty substantial resolution bump for
Yeah.
the iPad for the first time
Wrong.
in years. We might
Wrong.
even, thanks to that new OLED pixel rearrangement, see the displays of the iPad go above 3K. Maybe they'll even boast about it. This is the first iPad with a 4K display, and it still has great brightness and great refresh rates. And alongside that, there will be a far more boring upgrade with the 13 and 15-inch MacBook Airs. Probably just getting M3 chips and they call it a day. I don't think the OLED MacBooks are going to be quite ready yet. But here's hoping in 20.
So yeah, the M3 upgrade was pretty boring. And we're about probably in the next couple weeks going to get a MacBook Air refreshed with an M4 chip. Spoiler alert. Wow. But what I didn't predict was that the Apple Intelligence trend, which I think is mostly marketing baloney and BS, um, BS is bologna sandwiches for you kids listening out there. But I think the main cool thing that we've got from this obsession with large language models is that they bumped the RAM pretty substantially for the base model MacBook Airs. That even the M3 MacBook Airs got up to 16 gigs of unified memory by default. So I thought it would be a more boring upgrade than it actually was. Pretty cool now that for no additional charge, the base model MacBook Airs come with 16 gigs of memory. That's great. That's fantastic. Far more reasonable for the price. And I was wrong in that regard as far as the predictions were concerned. No, I don't think any leak really was talking about them doing that.
2024, they finally discontinue the M1 MacBook Air, which is over 3 years old and still being sold at $1,000. It's not a bad laptop by any means. I just wouldn't recommend anybody buy it brand new. You can find those things for so cheap through Best Buy and Amazon for like $250, $300 cheaper. It's a great machine if you want something with good battery life and good performance.
They did officially discontinue it last year, so that happened.
And not a bunch of bells and whistles. Just don't buy it for $1,000 brand new. Apple should not have that option anymore. So 2024 should finally mark the death of the wedge design MacBook Air. But on the subject of Apple Silicon, I also don't think Apple is going to introduce the M4 chip at any point in 2024. Some of you may disagree with me,
Oh,
but I think because they dropped kind of the whole M3 family, other than M3 Ultra,
very
with the
wrong.
updated 3 nanometer architecture at the very end of 2023, I think there's a decent likelihood that's going to carry them throughout 2024. And if there's any attention given to the Mac lineup, I don't think the MacBook Pros need much attention. I don't think they need faster chips. TSN.
Okay, I don't remember making this prediction. I was way off. M4 chip was ready in May. And in this video, I predicted that it wouldn't be ready at all in 2024. I think that M4 chip kind of surprised. Yeah, Zach also said he was surprised how soon the M4 chip was ready. I think it may have been the AI trend, all the obsession with artificial intelligence. Apple probably thought like they had to get some new silicon out there that was capable. Given that the iPhone and smartphones as a whole are a mature category, what is the next step? What more could people possibly want out of a phone? What do people want next? Well, if you want my personal opinion, I think smartphones, like you said, have mostly matured. I don't think there's that many more features they can come up with. It's just an era of refining. We're just going to get slightly better screens, slightly better battery, slightly better camera year after year after year. There's not going to be any super cycles, noticeable step changes. Probably the biggest change we're going to see for a while is the slimmer iPhone later this year, the 17 Air or whatever it's called. We might get a modest battery boost from Apple designing their own modems in house, but outside of that, if you want to talk about what the next big thing in technology is, I think it's electric vehicles. I think that's the more exciting field. There's a lot more change. There's a lot more uh, companies and funding going into that, and the era of exciting smartphone or laptop upgrades is kind of dead. Everything has just kind of got as good as it's going to get. Why does tech need to be interesting? Well, it doesn't need to be, but people who like watching tech videos want there to be interesting things. M3 was probably stopgap because their 3 nanometer process wasn't very efficient. That's true. That's a good point. I can see so much for the previous stream chat with the virtual keyboard out on the bay. Oh, yeah.
Z is already manufacturing the fastest possible Apple silicon they can, and I don't think they're going to have anything much better within 2024. But if the Mac lineup did need some kind of attention, I would suggest Apple put some work into your external monitors, okay?
No,
Because the Pro Display
they
XDR
didn't do
hasn't been
anything.
updated since 2019. That thing's going to be turning 5 years old in 2024, and
I'm surprised I'm using footage of the studio display when I'm talking about the Pro Display. But yeah, that is crazy. We're coming up on the Pro Display turning 6 years old in 2025. Wow. What if companies started releasing new phone every 2 years instead and phone software annually? They would make much less, far less money, and uh, it would. I don't think it would work because people would be buying brand new iPhones 18 months after they came out. So the hardware, the chips inside them would be 18 months out of date. Right now, it's bad enough that people still buy iPhones like the month the next one comes out. So you're buying 11-month-old hardware for full price. If you waited 2 years between releases, it would be even worse. You'd be buying full price iPhones for 22 that are 22 months old, which is not great.
it should, if anything, get a price cut because it's just a little outrageous and it
There's
has less
definitely no
local
price cut.
dimming zones than an $800 iPad. It's just kind of dated technology. It was trying to be mini LED before mini LED was a thing. And of course, a lot of people come to expect ProMotion on their expensive Macs now. If you got to do an iMac Pro with a high refresh rate display, then sure, go all in. At least we'll have something better than that white bezeled, atrocious joke that is the M3 iMac, still shipping with lightning accessories. I think 2024 should be the year of Apple focusing more on Mac accessories, like the external displays, like the Magic Keyboard, the Magic
Okay.
Mouse, that kind of thing. I don't think
We
they
got half of that. We did get the USB-C Magic Keyboard and Magic Mouse, but yeah, it's pretty atrocious how they've done nothing with the monitors.
need to focus too much on new models other than, of course, the routine refresh with new silicon. It's hard to get excited for that anymore because we just kind of know what to expect. Yes, the Mac Mini, maybe later in 2024, can just get an M3 chip and an M3 Pro chip, and the Mac Studio should probably get an M3 Max plus the yet to be announced M3 Ultra, but we all know how that's going to go. We took two M3 Max chips and I bring them together, and that makes it fast. Except they'll find a way to.
Wow. So there was no M3 Ultra. That never happened. And I was just hoping for a spec bump on the Mac Mini, and the Mac Mini ended up being way better than I predicted. With the whole redesigned form factor, it was much, much smaller, and it got the M4 chip. Crazy fast, frontal I/O, frontal headphone jack. No one predicted that, really. Um, I'm in the socio-economic category that only buy a newer iPhone when the old one dies. Yeah, you're a normal human being, Robert. That's okay. What are your thoughts on the trend of people wanting basic upgrades on their phones, like battery life, and then complaining about new ones by saying they're too boring when they? I think you're comparing two different markets. I think the people that are complaining that the phones aren't interesting enough aren't the same people asking for better battery life. You'll read on social media, you'll see both of those complaints, but they're not necessarily the same people. But yeah, I think it's very easy to complain about anything in general. It's very easy to complain about tech, and especially new tech that just came out. It's very easy to think of things that they didn't do or could have done. Um, so I just try to remind people that yeah, that all this stuff is going to be boring from now on. Like it depends on where your line is for boring. I mean, the iPhone 10, which was like the biggest iPhone upgrade of all time, was boring to many people, just depending on who you ask. Um, so it varies based on what's interesting to me. Some people are excited by Apple switching to a different processor node. from TSMC. So that excites some people. And of course, for other people, they're like, who cares? It's just a faster chip. I'm not maxing out my current iPhone chip, right? Do I think Steve Jobs would love Apple Vision Pro? I did a whole video on that you can probably look up, but roughly, yeah. I think there is some Steve Jobs qualities to it, but there's also there's some things about it that I think he wouldn't like, but there's other parts of it that I think. I also think Steve Jobs would have loved AirPods. Didn't get to live to see those, but I think they do a lot of the things that Steve would have liked in a product. But people complain that the phone isn't different because they want everyone to notice they have the newest one. Yeah, that's just a human nature thing, I'm afraid. I think so. Yeah, Mac Mini was the best product of the year. People aren't supposed to upgrade every year anyway. Maybe this will force people to behave accordingly. Yeah, I know, but people do, and Apple would rather capitalize on those people than leave them behind. Apple gets a bunch of sales every year just because there's a bunch of people out there that are probably watching this stream that buy the new iPhone every year just because they can afford it, they've got the money, and they follow the leaks, they follow the rumors because they're excited to see what else, even if it's small changes, even if it's insignificant. They just want to have a new iPhone every year. That's just some people choose to live that way, and Apple is able to make a lot of money off that. So if they chose to not release a new iPhone every year, they would be leaving a bunch of free money on the table. Um, yeah, I think people like the idea of big changes, but they can't think they don't know how to articulate what a big change would look like. It's easy to say there should be a bigger upgrade. Okay, what does a big upgrade look like? It's like, I don't know. Battery cameras, you know, they go blank. What do you think happened with AirPods Max this year? I don't think there was actually much of a team or time designated to them. They just knew that for the European Union and the fact that their iPhones were all switching to Type C, it was weird that the AirPods Max didn't have Type C. So they were like, let's put in the bare minimum effort, literally just swap the port. That's it. I don't think there was a bunch of audio engineers that actually looked into how to improve it. How do we give it better silicon? How do we improve the noise cancellation? Maybe give it some lossless. All of that time and attention went towards AirPods Pro. But I hope that someday we do get an actual real AirPods Max refresh. But I think I'll talk about that in a minute here.
Explain that over the course of 20 minutes. It'll be expensive, but it'll be amazing. We'll get new heights for unified memory, but what better way to unveil the M3 Ultra than with a newly refreshed Pro Display XDR with ProMotion of some
Nope.
kind, and also maybe some price cuts slash adjustments to the Studio Display XDR, like improve the webcam on that thing or just drop it entirely since everybody's probably using continuity camera on their iPhones. Come on, how many Android people are really buying the Studio Display? Let's be honest with ourselves.
Are
Do we
they
need a
out there?
built-in webcam on that thing? I don't know. It's a great monitor, just it shouldn't cost $1,600, Apple. Let's get real. Now moving onward into the fall of 2024, of course, iPhone season. We should expect a refresh across the entire iPhone 16 lineup. And I guess the big headlining feature with the iPhone 16 series is this will be the biggest the iPhone has ever been, period. Like there has
I was
never
right.
been an iPhone with a 6.9-inch display before, and yet that's kind of what's rumored for the 16 Pro Max. Still not entirely sure if they're going Ultra at this point. I'm going to guess no, just because I was expecting a 15 Ultra in 2023 and we didn't get that. But yeah, the Pros are supposed to be huge. 6.9 inches for the Pro Max and 6.3 inches for the regular Pro. Both of them are
That was
getting the
true.
upgraded Tetra Prism telephoto lens. So
Also
as of
true.
right now, you have to get the 15 Pro Max to get a 5x optical zoom, whereas it'll come to the smaller iPhone Pro next year, except the smaller Pro is now bigger. So is it a win in the end? That'll be for you to decide. And Apple will continue to disappoint the tech community with the entry level iPhone 16s, which don't sound to be too different. They're pretty much just going to be the same size as the 15 lineup. They're going to be 6.1 inches and 6.7 inches. And I hate to say it, but yeah, probably still 60 hertz. Probably still the same old dynamic island across the lineup. I don't think they're going to be ready to start putting Face ID sensors underneath the display until 2025. You got to take your precious time with Apple because their supply chain is a lot slower than the smaller Android companies that only have to build a couple million units a year. Apple has to build a couple dozen million within the span of a few months because they've got demand like
Yeah,
no.
I'm just telling you now, Neem. Apple doesn't care about people complaining about them. Apple cares about money. They're a $3 trillion company. So if refreshing the iPhone every year means they make more money, they're going to do that. They're not going to do what results in the least amount of YouTube negative comments. They don't care about that. It's not important to them. And I think it's objectively true that there is probably the iPhone is their best-selling product. It's a huge product category. There's probably a good couple of million people that buy the new iPhone every year at launch. So if they're making, $400, $500 of profit per iPhone, that's easily billions of dollars of profit that they'd be missing out on if they did not refresh it annually. So people are going to complain about everything. Just don't let that affect how you feel about things. You don't have to complain. Let's see.
Leather. But I'm hoping here that with the regular iPhone 16s, we could get a few spec bumps. Of course, the A17 chip in those models and USB 3.0 speeds would be nice.
No, so they got a better chip than I thought. They upped it to the A18 chip, but they did not touch the USB-C speeds, sadly. So double wrong on that one, Drew.
Think there's a decent likelihood that the entry level iPhones will probably get the action button. That seems like the kind of thing Apple's
Yeah.
not quite branding as a pro feature just yet, but they will compensate for it on the pros by giving them yet another button, which is starting to seem a little bit redundant to me. But yeah, there's rumors that the iPhone 16 Pros, both sizes, are supposed to get like capture buttons. So there will be a dedicated button on the side just for activating the camera,
It was
but
pretty
that will be
close.
separate from your action button, which can still be remapped to do something else, whatever your heart desires. And of course, we'll probably get the A18 Pro on the 16 Pros. Try not to get confused with all of these numbers, but still going to be a 3 nanometer architecture. And I'm sure there will probably be some efficiency advantages, some performance gains, but likely nothing too major with the silicon. Maybe they'll find a way to put fully spec Thunderbolt on the 16 Pros
Nope.
next year, and maybe some way to take advantage of that with like a Apple Dex. But I'm not trying to get my hopes up for that because it didn't happen with the 15 series.
Yeah.
There's a good chance it won't happen with the 16 series either. But if
Yeah.
you're refreshing the external monitors, then it would be a good time to switch to Thunderbolt to take advantage of the
Man,
external monitor support.
I was really desperate for a new external monitor. I just had to give up on that in 2024. I'm like, you know what? It ain't happening. Just give up. There will always be complainers. Yeah, no matter what you do.
On the iPhones. Come on, Apple. These are free ideas. You can just take them. The other thing I hope to see alongside the launch of the iPhone 16 series would be a Type-C supported version of AirPods Max. That thing is screaming for an update. Like, it really, really needs to be brought up to speed with the AirPods Pro, which have newer silicon, new features, and it costs less. Plus, AirPods Pro have USB-C already, so AirPods Max just feel incredibly dated as is. If there's some way they can build like the H2 chip into the iPhone 16 series, then theoretically there should be a way for them to unveil the new AirPods Max alongside the new iPhone 16 and say these support wireless lossless playback thanks to Apple Music and the power of Apple Silicon. The same way Apple Vision Pro is able to support lossless playback with AirPods Pro, but only if you have the USB-C case, because those happen to have the slightly updated H2 chip. Put those same chips that you put in Vision Pro in the iPhone, and boom, you would suddenly lock in a bunch of Apple Music customers because they'd be like, I can't get my lossless playback on Spotify wirelessly. If you care about your services revenue, Apple, you'll do it. You know what it's good for you. Simultaneously, if the import ban on the Apple Watch ever gets addressed, there's
Oh
rumors
yeah.
that the Apple Watch Series 10 is actually supposed to be the first Apple Watch that radically gets redesigned in some way, and the watch bands no longer
No.
connect. So all of those amazing watch band collections you guys
That's
have
it.
stockpiled.
I will not believe a single leak anymore that claims the Apple Watch is getting redesigned. No more. No more. There's just been way too many bait and switches. There's been too many times people are like, "Oh, this is the year. This is the year they change it." Nope. Don't fall for it. I'll believe it when I see it. But after the Series 7 didn't happen, and they said, "Oh, they're saving the squared off watch for later." And then they said it would be the Series 10 for 10 years. All we got was a slightly thinner watch with uglier bezels, in my opinion. Just buy an iPhone external monitor and iDex. Yeah, that would be cool. Did the Tim Cook secret police visit you for not spending enough on Apple yet this year? They kicked my door in last night and I had to buy the M4 iPad Pro to get them to leave. Yeah, I'm not allowed to talk about that, but yes, that's exactly what happened. That's true. 50% of Apple's sales revenue every year is iPhone. That's true. So they would miss out on a ton of money if they didn't refresh annually.
Will suddenly be useless e-waste, and Octavia Spencer will stare at you in judgment because you're going to have to buy all new watch bands for the Series 10. But that's pretty much all that's been rumored about it. Apple's probably hesitant to implement any kind of health sensors at this point because they're likely going to be infringing on somebody's patents, right? So maybe they're going to cool it on the health developments for a while and just focus on how do we redesign the Apple Watch, make it more space efficient, and if anything, my hope is boost the battery life a little bit. That would be great because it feels like Apple Watch battery technology hasn't changed much over the years until the Ultra came out, but all that really did was just make the whole watch thicker. Maybe they could find a way to increase the battery size if they were able to design the watch band connections a little bit differently and do something we've been asking since the beginning with the Apple Watch way back in 2014. Maybe if you're redesigning the watch band connection from the ground up, design it to be a bit more smart. Put some pins on there, let you mount external accessories to the Apple Watch that serve different functions so that watch bands are not just fashion statements, but also accessories that unlock new capabilities with your watch. Maybe this is how Apple makes peace with Massimo, right? There's no more blood oxygen level checker in the Apple Watch. You have to buy the Massimo Apple Watch band and you put that band on, and now you can check your blood
Hmm.
oxygen levels. Or maybe you just get a smart battery band that allows you to extend the battery life of your Apple Watch, assuming they can share power and a little bit of data between the watch band connectors. If you're going to redesign it, you might as well make it worth your while. If it's not really adding anything functionally and it just
I remember asking for smart watch bands way back in like 2016, and they still didn't happen. Here I am, almost 10 years later, it's still not a thing. Apple Watch leaks are BS. Oh yeah, he said podcast soon will be leaking again. Oh boy, can't wait. Connor Dunaway has been a member for 28 months. Andy Blaha also been a member for 4 months. Thank you to the channel members for supporting directly. You guys are too kind. And Connor asks, should macOS update periodically like Windows, or should they update yearly like usual? You know, I was about to say yearly because that's just the way they have been doing it. But the more I think about it, macOS is used for a lot of people's work. You know, it's a productivity focused operating system. It's not really entertainment focused like iOS or iPadOS is. So if there's a new feature or a security patch or something, well, security patch is different, but like if there's new features that they come up with, holding them back so that they can make the next generation feel bigger is probably unnecessary since it's so productivity focused. I feel like we should just go back to maybe not back, but be more like Windows and just update it with new features as they become available. But the truth is, I feel like that's kind of how software development goes already for Apple, because when a new a macOS generation comes out, like Sequoia or whatever, um, you don't get most of the features they announced all at once. You get like two or three, and then you have to wait throughout the year for those features to become available. So DubDub is really just the time for Apple to showcase like here's all the features we're gonna add throughout the next year. But they're probably constantly working on new features at any given time. And then there's just some that are ready to be talked about and some that are not. So it's probably closer to the way Windows is than we'd like to think. And the fact that they just announce the big update once a year with a bunch of the new features is mostly just a marketing thing. It's not so much a actual release schedule thing. Because you notice that, right? Like every time a new Mac OS drops, half the features they talked about aren't ready anyway. They're just telling you that they're gonna have those features. An iPhone and iPad is already 2,000 right there. I own a monitor, and assuming Apple Dex would be $200, then I only have to spend 1,200. So much better. Yeah, well, when you say it that way, Apple probably doesn't want to do that because they would make less money. Um, X1 says, I've gotten a new Apple Watch every third generation since the very first one came out, first gen, Series 4, Series 7, Series 10, and I feel like it's been an amazing upgrade cycle. Spacing, all day battery life from 7 a.m. to midnight, left on 65% after. Well, that's funny because according to Apple, the battery life is the same on the Series 7 and the Series 10. I actually think of all the generations you listed, that's the only downgrade. First gen to Series 4, big upgrade. We got the curved corners, bigger screen, we got the EKG and everything. Series 4 to Series 7, big upgrade. You got way thinner bezels, you got blood oxygen level checking if you got it before they were banned, and the always on display. Um, there's other things I'm sure that I'm blanking on. The storage got better, the faster charging, the faster processing power, the brighter display, all those kinds of things. And then Series 7 to 10, it's like it's thinner. Um that's about it. So yeah, I'm happy for you. I'm glad you like your Apple Watch, but Series 10 was just a big disappointment to me. I couldn't have been more disappointed, and I had low expectations. It was so bad that I had to stop wearing an Apple Watch out of disappointment. Daniel says, "What is my prediction on which iPhone is to be discontinued next?" Probably the SE. I'm kind of surprised that a Touch ID iPhone with a 4.7-inch display with a home button is still being sold. It's actually no longer being sold in Europe because it has Lightning, so it wasn't allowed anymore. But they'll probably discontinue that in the next couple months. I don't think Apple cares about losing money, Drew. Look at some of the iPads and Macs that they sell. Apple is known to cannibalize some of their own product line. Yeah, not enough. That's why they keep artificially limiting the iPad. You get Final Cut Pro for iPad, which is like the baby version. You get Playgrounds. You don't get Xcode. No, don't get them wrong. They want you to buy an iPad and a Mac. The iPad could be doing so much more, but it doesn't because they would rather you buy a Mac. I know.
Has to connect differently. That I don't know. The EU might get a little bit upset with you, Apple. I would like to say that, well, they'll probably have an adapter so you can use your older watch bands, but this is Apple. They didn't even include a Lightning to Type C adapter on the iPhone, so it's probably not going to happen. But I'm way ahead of you guys because I already sold my Apple Watch, got rid of all my watch
Yeah, it's
bands.
been
So
over
I'm
a year.
prepared for the next generation, but I'll probably not buy it anyway. And that pretty much concludes everything that I think will be noteworthy of the 2024 Apple lineup. I think it's probably way too soon to refresh regular AirPods as well as AirPods Pro. Those are the kinds of things that don't get refreshed annually.
Okay.
Hopefully, at some point, we get a
We did get new regular AirPods. AirPods 4 ended up being fairly impressive to get active noise cancellation without the rubber seals. But yeah, AirPods Pro obviously still not ready yet.
refreshed iPad mini, but I know the top requested feature for the iPad mini is ProMotion, and it feels like Apple is just very comfortable leaving that as a pro feature. So if the iPad mini does get refreshed, it's probably just going to be a chip upgrade. It probably won't be ProMotion. Here's hoping
Bingo.
they also kill off the iPad 9 in 2024, kill off the Apple Pencil 1. That thing has overstayed its welcome. It's been on the website for 8 freaking years. That's way too long. The stupid cap and how you charge it and everything. We should be long past this thing, right? Why is that still on the website? So, what do you guys think Apple's going to kill off in 2024? And what do you think they'll introduce? Will MagSafe Duo or the MagSafe battery pack ever make a comeback? All that
Nope.
stuff. Let me know what you're thinking down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel.
Oh, that.
Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. And thanks again. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Okay. Old intro. Um, yeah, I would say a pretty half and half. I don't know. What ratio would you guys give me on accuracy with the predictions? It was definitely not mostly right. Um, I would say the iPhone stuff was almost spot on. The iPhone leaks were pretty accurate. Apple Watch leak was not accurate. The Mac leaks were not that accurate. Um, I didn't think we would get an M4 chip, and we got one in May. I didn't think that there would be much with the Mac Mini. I was really hoping Apple would update the external monitors, and that didn't happen. Um, I don't think Nick exclusively uses iPad anymore. If you're a content creator, you do not need a Mac. No, but it's much, much easier and much, much nicer. That's why most of them use a Mac. I hate that Apple got rid of their leather bands and replaced them with fine woven, but the fine woven solo loop is by far the most comfortable watch band I've ever used. Really? I've heard mostly negative things about fine woven, so that's interesting. Um, let's see. I have the 5th gen Apple Watch, so I'm all right. Yeah, that's fine. Use them as long as you can. It is sad. I agree, Alpha. For iPad always means dumbed down. If it says for iPad, it means it's worse. It has less features. With the Series 9, I wasn't able to use the sleep tracking because it would charge overnight. With the Series 10, I can just have it charge while I shower. Yeah, you just need to shower a little longer. What's the rush? What's the difference? I thought I saw some charging comparison between Series 9 and Series 10, and it was like the Series 10 charged like 5 minutes faster. I don't know. What about all those calories you're burning in the shower? Now you're not tracking all this. What do people do? What do people do with all this sleep tracking? I don't need a watch to tell me I didn't sleep well last night. I didn't sleep well last night. I think I'm still on Australian time because I was up late into the night. I couldn't fall asleep. I was wide awake. Didn't have any caffeine that day, didn't have any coffee. I just couldn't fall asleep even though it was super late. Could have spent $600 and have a watch tell me I didn't sleep well, or I can just wake up and not feel good. Nicholas says roughly 55 to 60% on your predictions. M4 iPad Pro is my entertainment fun. I also have a MacBook for true productivity when I actually need to be productive, which is very rare. There you go. For less complex videos, yes, you don't need a Mac. But when you add graphics and multiple layers of footage on top of each other, Mac interface takes the win. I also think you can just get things done way faster on a Mac. I've done it. I used to run my whole channel off an iPad. I know it can be done. I just know it's slower and there's more barriers to entry. Um, have you had the pleasure of speaking to 9 to 5 Max Fernando Silva? He swears by the iPad. The man is working for a company and doesn't use Mac. That's impressive. No, it depends on the use case, obviously. I know if you're a journalist writing articles, yeah, you can do that on an iPad. You can do that on an iPhone. You can type things up. I mean, he probably likes to have a physical keyboard, but I mean, you could probably pair. Yeah, I know you could. You could pair this keyboard to an iPhone. You can write articles on very very affordable small hardware. Um, I'm talking about more complex tasks like audio engineering or video editing or software writing like Xcode, like writing apps. You can't really make much of an app on an iPad. You can do Swift Playgrounds and do some basic stuff, but as soon as you want to do relatively complicated software, then you got to pull out a Mac to use Xcode. Even though the silicon on the Mac and the iPad is the same, in fact, the iPad has more advanced silicon. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's basic stuff you can do on the iPad. I understand that, but you can just do it much faster and much easier on a Mac. That's all I'm saying. I've used the sleep tracking feature to figure out I'm actually waking up multiple times a night without realizing it. Been going to a doctor as a result and made some interesting discoveries. That's fascinating. You're waking up without realizing it. I usually realize when I wake up. But anywho, I understand there's video editing capabilities. I just don't think that there should be compromises when you're spending that much. When you spend that much on an iPad, it shouldn't cost you there shouldn't be features you can't access is all I'm saying. And there is still that feature parity, I'm afraid. There's still a bunch of things you can do on the Mac that you can't do on the iPad version. Um, iPad is only good for content creators and musicians. Yeah, I still think most musicians use a Mac at the end of the day. There's some stuff you can do on the iPad, and then they're like, wow, look, I wrote this whole thing on the iPad. That's cool. And then they put it down and go back to the Mac because that's what is easier, more comfortable, more productivity focused. But just comes down to the software, really. It's not a hardware difference at the end of the day. But um, that was interesting. Now we know. You can trust about 55 to 60% of what I cover on this channel. Hope that answers your question. But yeah, we probably tomorrow can start working on the predictions for 2025. Just a rough overview would probably be M4 MacBook Airs. That could really happen at any time now. And M4 Max and M4 Ultra, Mac Studio, new Mac Pro, that's M4 Ultra. And do they start introducing the M5 chip? Is it too soon to start talking about that? I mean, it felt like M4 wouldn't happen last year, and it did. I can tell when I'm about to wake up by sensing my body temperature. If I'm having a nightmare, my body temperature increases and eventually I get hot enough, I wake up. I just don't know. I used to track my sleep until I realized I wasn't doing anything with the data. I was like, what am I doing with this? I don't know. Hardware wise, I feel like iPad destroys Mac. If Apple wanted to run full Xcode or Final Cut on it, they could. I know that's the most disappointing thing about it is they could and they choose not to. They could have a device that does way more and they choose not to, which is a shame. But hey, that's why I don't have one. I've been getting by just fine without it. Haven't missed my iPad. My iPhone is so big now, it might as well be an iPad mini. But for those who missed it, I forget where. I think it may have been Amazon. But the new iPad mini, the A17 Pro chip iPad mini, has gone on sale. Maybe it was Amazon. Let me check real quick. Um, no, that's not it. Somewhere I was reading about it. The iPad Mini 7th gen was $300, or not 300. Sorry, $400. So it was like $100 off. Maybe it's sold out because I'm not seeing it on Amazon, but I did read about it somewhere. Let me pull up the tweet. Now I'm curious. Did we did we buy them all out? Even though you're not leaking, maybe your prediction track record needs to get uploaded on a now defunct Apple track. Yes, exactly. Um, oh, it was Amazon, but shipping isn't available until next month. I see. Best Buy is also matching. Let me click the link. Did the price go back up? No, it's still here. Okay. Is that through Apple? Here, look at this. iPad mini 7th gen, 128 gigs, Wi-Fi 6E, and obviously A17 Pro chip, $399. Pretty good deal. If I were to, I don't need an iPad anymore, but if I were in the market for one, that's a pretty screaming good deal. You get the better Apple Pencil support, Apple Pencil Pro compatibility. I don't think I'll be on the nice list this year. May I purchase your iPad? Do you have Cash App? No, I already sold my iPad. I'm sorry. It's gone. I don't own an iPad. There's no iPad for you here. Um, I think we're caught up. Yeah. So there you have it. iPhone 17s should finally get 120 hertz. Um, I need to refresh myself on the iPhone Pro rumors. I'm trying to remember. Are we going under display with some of the Face ID sensors? I sold my iPad like a year ago. That was a while back, but um, I just sold it to someone locally. Didn't have to pay for shipping. I felt like I got a good price. It was not a fan or family. It was just local. Uh, what do you call it? Marketplace type thing. Anywho, um, I've stopped recommending both the Air and the Pro. They just cost too much for what they offer over the budget and mini. Yeah, I agree. But if you're using an iPad because an iPad is good enough, you probably don't need a Pro. That's a good point. Apparently, sales for the Pro are also not doing that hot from the latest reports I've heard. So I don't know. We'll see. But thank you all for tuning in. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day, and we'll chat more tomorrow. Bye bye.